There was a small village surrounded by mountains and fertile farmland. In this village lived Amaka. Her father was King David and Amaka was the king's eldest daughter. Now Amaka was known for being a kind-hearted and gentle princess among the villagers. However, she faced a unique challenge. She was unusually large and muscular for a princess, towering over most others in the village like a giant, due to a disease she had from birth that made her grow at an extraordinary rate. From a young age, Amaka's size set her apart from her peers. Despite her gentle nature, her imposing stature intimidated the villagers. As she grew older, her muscular physique became even more pronounced, making her stand out even more in the eyes of the villagers. Due to her intimidating appearance, Amaka struggled to find acceptance among the villagers. Mothers would hurriedly usher their children away from her presence, and young men would avoid her, intimidated by her size. Because of this, Amaka was unable to attract any potential suitors for marriage, because they were all terrified of having someone far bigger and stronger than them as a wife. This was a major problem for Amaka's father, King David, because he had no sons to succeed him when he died, only 2 daughters. Amaka, his eldest daughter, and Precious, his second daughter. So it was crucial that Amaka was married to secure a male heir to the throne. This put Amaka under a lot of pressure to get married and secure the throne for her father, but it was the most difficult thing for her ever because her imposing physique seemed to scare away any potential suitors. Amaka often felt like she was cursed by the devil to be in this kind of difficult situation. But even at that, Amaka remained kind and compassionate, devoting herself to serving her people and caring for the village's needs. However, her loneliness and disappointment in herself weighed heavily on her heart, and she often found solace in going to the forest alone when none of the palace guards were watching to cry her eyes out, and commune with nature whenever she felt sad. One day, as she was in the forest crying, she heard a loud shout that overshadowed her cry. She listened earnestly in hopes of hearing what was making the sound and where it was coming from. "Help, please! Help!" The voice yelled desperately. It was a man's voice, and it is coming from a nearby bush path of the forest, Amaka thought. So she hurriedly rushed towards there, and lo and behold, when she arrived, it was a short, handsome man adorned in hunter attire who was trapped under a tree that fell on him. "How did you get trapped under this tree, strange hunter?" Amaka asked. "I was just walking and oh, please first help me get out of this predicament and I'll tell you the full story after," he said to her. "Okay, of course," Amaka replied. And with her great strength and stamina, she lifted the giant tree like it was a small stick and moved it away from his body. Amaka helped the strange hunter get up, and then she asked him again, "Now that you are free, can you tell me how you got stuck under a tree? This kind of thing doesn't just happen randomly." "Ha." The hunter chuckled. "Yes, you are right, these kinds of things don't usually happen, do they? Well, I was on my normal hunting expedition like every other day, when I stumbled on a very big antelope like I had never seen before. I followed the antelope for some time, till I finally cornered it and aimed my gun at it from afar. Unfortunately for me, the place I was standing was littered with animal feces, so as I was about to shoot the antelope, my legs slipped in the feces and made a loud noise. This noise startled the antelope and it ran away. I hurriedly chased it, but the antelope accidentally bruised an already weak tree as it was running. I followed the same path the antelope followed as I was chasing it. But unfortunately for me, as I approached the tree, its weight gave in from the bruising by the antelope and fell on me. Funny how I tried to catch the antelope and instead I got caught by a tree," the hunter explained. "Haha, that's a funny story, what an adventure. I bet you have such fun adventures each time you come out to hunt," Amaka said. "Ah yes, many adventures. By the way, what's your name, mighty lady? I owe you my life," the hunter asked. "Oh, it's Amaka, Princess Amaka. And yours?" Amaka asked. "Oh wow, Princess Amaka, of course, why didn't I piece it all together? You are the beautiful giant princess of our land. I knew something felt familiar when I saw you. Your Highness, My name is Dyke, son of Nwake and grandson of Dimpa, the greatest chief priest our land has ever known. Dyke replied, Well, Dyke, how dare you call me a beautiful giant? Are you trying to mock me or what? Amaka responded, No, Amaka, I meant that in a good way. I just stated what I observed. I noticed you're a giant as compared to other people in our village, but also I think you're beautiful. Dyke said sincerely to Amaka. As Amaka heard this from Dyke, she blushed quietly and asked, So you think I'm beautiful? Well, of course. Aren't you aware that you are one of the most beautiful ladies in our land? Dyke asked Amaka. That's the first time I've heard someone call me beautiful. Usually, people make fun of my height and muscular nature. Most guys avoid talking or even looking at me because of my imposing physique. Amaka responded, Well, I think you are beautiful. Those other guys don't know what they are talking about. Dyke said. Amaka began blushing uncontrollably in silence. But Dyke immediately asked, So what are you doing in the forest, by the way? Certainly the princess of the land has not begun hunting for meat by herself, like us peasants. Oh no. I usually come here alone to have some alone time and commune with nature. It's no big deal. And for the record, I don't consider hunters as peasants. You guys are really brave and honorable. Amaka said, Well, to me, it seems like you come to the forest because you feel lonely. Nonetheless, I think you are a kind person. Dyke replied, You are right, Dyke. I usually come here through the secret bush part of the village alone so that no one would see me on the road. And yes, I come here because I am lonely, and the forest is the only place I find solace with the other animals. After all, am I not a beast? Amaka said to Dyke. Dyke immediately replied to her, No. And oh, don't you say that about yourself? Haven't I told you that you are beautiful? Look, from henceforth now, I'll be your friend. I will never judge you on your stature. And most importantly, you won't have to be lonely the next time you come to the forest. As Dyke said that, Amaka's eyes lit up with joy as she realized that she had made her first friend in a while. So Dyke and Amaka spent the remaining day talking and laughing, and Amaka felt a connection she had never experienced before, like someone truly appreciated the real her, overlooking her giant and imposing stature. When night came, Amaka dismissed Dyke and rushed back to the palace. But before then, they had promised to see each other in the forest the following day. When she got back, she quietly tiptoed through the gates so that no one would hear her. But when she got to her room, she found her sister Precious sitting on her bed. Now Precious was Amaka's wicked sister, who was far more beautiful than Amaka, attracting all the suitors and flaunting several boyfriends at a time. Not only that, she made it a habit to always rub her adventures with men in Amaka's face, to put down her big sister, because she felt she was superior to Amaka. When Precious saw Amaka sneaking back into her room, she startled her with a monologue. Well, hello, sister. How was your day? You seem to have had another mischievous day running around the kingdom. Don't you know you are disgracing our family when you go out and spend time in the forest? What if someone were to see you? A whole princess behaving like an uncultured swine. I mean, it's bad enough that you look like a beast, but at least don't act like one. And let's not get started with how you made Daddy so worried. You better go and tell him you are back and apologize for running away, Precious said. Amaka then replied, Wait. So it seems like you have been keeping an eye on me for some time now. I am unhappy with the way you referred to me as a beast. I have warned you before not to call me that. I would also like to know how you found out that I used to go to the forest and how Daddy came to know about it. Precious replied her, Oh, please, those guards you think are helping you cover up your secrets aren't hard to get information from, especially when you threaten their lives. And why won't I expose you to Daddy? You are disgracing the family's name. I think it's only fair the king knows that the reason his subjects are losing respect for him is because his beast of a daughter is running around the village like a fool. Precious. How many times did I call you? I've warned you several times to stop calling me that. Amaka said to her. "Oh, you mean beast? Oh, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. You better go and report yourself to Daddy, though. He has been worried sick for his beast of a daughter," Precious replied as she walked out. Later on, Amaka went ahead to see her father, King David, and tell him of her whereabouts as Precious had advised. As Amaka walked towards the king quarters, she was stricken with fear. With every step she could feel her own heartbeat as she got closer. All she could think of was how much of a disappointment she had been to her father. First, she was unable to attract any suitors for marriage, failing to secure the heritage of the throne in their family, and now this sneaking out issue. Each time she thought of these things, she would get sick to her stomach, but she kept pressing on, and finally arrived at the king quarters. Now, when she arrived at the king's quarters, she and her father, King David, locked eyes briefly as she saw him discussing with one of his advisors late at night. So she waited outside quietly for them to finish their discussion. When they were through, King David called her inside and asked, "My daughter, why do you give me such heart attacks sometimes? You had me so worried. Why have you been sneaking out to the forest during the day? Don't you know you are a princess, for crying out loud?" King David said, "Father, my apologies if I let you down. But yes, I have been sneaking out and gone to the forest for quite some time now. I know it's not proper. But Father, the forest is the only place I feel normal and have peace of mind. Because every hour I spend here in the royal palace, I am constantly reminded of how much of a disgrace I am to you, our family, and our kingdom. So Father, I know that you are angry at me, but please understand." Amaka responded, "I'm not angry at you, my daughter." King David immediately replied, "I'm just worried about you. I have no problem with you exploring any part of our vast kingdom. By the way, you will be the one to inherit it once I'm gone. I just don't like the idea of going about unprotected, and worst of all, without informing me, the king. You know you are royalty, and most especially my very beloved daughter. Oh, please, Daddy, forgive me. I'm sorry, but please don't stop me from going to the forest. Today I made my first friend in a while, and I plan to go back tomorrow to see him again." "Him? Who is this man friend of yours, Amaka?" King David responded, "Oh, his name is Dyke, son of Nwake and grandson of Dimpba, the greatest chief priest our village has ever known. And he is a noble hunter in our village." Amaka replied, "A hunter, you say? And he is the son of Dimpba, the legendary chief priest. Wow! I'm happy for you, Amaka. It's been ages since you brought a friend. Okay, you have my blessing to go see your friend Dyke tomorrow, but you must take at least one of the palace guards for your safety. Okay?" The king said. Immediately Amaka's eyes lit up with overwhelming joy. "Oh, thank you, Daddy. Don't worry, I'll always take a palace guard from henceforth anytime I'm going to the forest. You won't have to worry about my safety anymore," Amaka said. "Okay, my daughter, there is no problem. Be careful with your new friend, though. I hope he is not dangerous." The king said, "No, Daddy, he is not, I promise. Good night, Daddy, thank you again." Amaka replied to him as she walked out of his quarters filled with joy. Now Precious, her sister, had been listening in on their conversation, and she was unhappy with how things went between Amaka and their father. So as she heard Amaka coming out, she snuck away, back into her room. The following day, Amaka took a palace guard as she promised her father and went to the forest to see Dyke. When they arrived, Dyke was a bit shocked that she brought a palace guard. So he asked her if it was because she thought that he was dangerous, and she felt unsafe with him. No, certainly it's not that," Amaka replied. "It's just that my father found out that I had been coming to the forest without security, and he advised me to go with one this time because I'm royalty. I'm certainly not scared of you, Dyke." When Dyke heard this, his heart cooled down, and they spent the remaining day talking, gisting, and hunting animals together. It turned out that Amaka was naturally gifted in hunting just like Dyke, and they shared similar hobbies, dreams, and values as well. As time went on, Amaka and Dyke kept seeing each other on a daily basis, with each interaction they had being better than the last. This, their newfound friendship, dramatically improved Amaka's mental well-being. Amaka, who was once sad and severely depressed, was now always filled with joy and hopefulness, as she always came back from her trips to the forest happy and refreshed. Everyone in the palace noticed the improvement in Amaka's mood and was happy with it, especially King David. But there was one person in the palace who hated Amaka's newfound joy and hopefulness with passion. Her sister, Precious. Precious always enjoyed when Amaka was sad and lonely because it guaranteed that her ultimate goal would be achieved. You see, since Precious and Amaka were little, she was always jealous of how their parents showered Amaka with extra love and care because of her condition. And from a young age, she has always envied Amaka's birthright of becoming the next ruler of their land when she married. So naturally, as she saw that no man wanted to court Amaka for marriage because of her condition, she naturally flourished in Amaka's tragedy, waiting till when Amaka exceeded her marrying age so that she could marry and become the next ruler of their land, instead of Amaka. But as she noticed that this newfound friendship between Amaka and Dyke had begun blossoming and could lead to love or even marriage, she knew that she was in trouble. All her dreams could come crashing down. I have to act quickly before all my plans are squashed, she thought. So the next morning, after Amaka had gone to see Dyke, she rushed to her father's chambers to confront him. When she arrived, she locked eyes with her father, King David, as he was speaking to his advisors. But unlike Amaka, she didn't wait for him to finish his meeting, but instead, she stormed in. "Father, please excuse my intrusion, but I have something of utmost importance to discuss with you," Precious said. "What is so important that you disrespect me and my entire cabinet with your presence unannounced?" King David replied, "Please, father, it's a matter of life and death." Precious said, "Very well, please, my esteemed elders, bear with me. Let me discuss this with my daughter since she said it's so urgent," the king said as he excused his advisors. When they were alone in the room, the king then asked, "So Precious, what was so important that you disrupted a meeting with my most esteemed advisors?" Precious responded, "Father, like I said, it's a matter of life and death. Father, you are not getting any younger, neither is Amaka or myself, and very soon the throne has to be inherited by a successor when you pass. Amaka has failed to secure a suitor for marriage for many years now, and you know by our traditions she can't inherit the throne without a husband. Father, she has failed you, she has failed herself as a woman, she has failed our dynasty, and most especially she has failed the kingdom for not being able to carry out her duty. I know it's not her fault that she is a muscular giant ugly beast, but even at that, it doesn't change the fact that she has failed everyone, father. So what do you suggest we do about this, Precious?" King David asked. Precious quickly responded, "Father, I am alive and well. I am beautiful and I have dozens of suitors lined up if I wanted to get married right now." "So what are you saying, Precious? Spit it out," King David responded. "Father, revoke Amaka's birthright and anoint me as your successor. Let us strike now that the iron is hot before it's too late, father. For I am your humble servant. I would make a better successor to your throne than my failure of a sister." "Shut up! Shut up your dirty mouth, you wicked child. So you want me to betray Amaka, your elder sister, my firstborn? Have you no shame? Have you no conscience? How can you even conceive such an evil plan? More or less, how did you even have the courage to bring this to me as a suggestion? I see now evil dwells in your heart, Precious. But don't worry, I know how to purge it. From henceforth your access to the royal treasury is revoked. You will have access to only one servant, and your daily meals would be reduced from 6 meals a day to 3 meals a day. You would serve this punishment continuously until I see it fit to release you from it," King David fiercely told Precious. "But father, please, I was just being honest and realistic with the state of things. We both know that Amaka is never going to get married, or should we give away the throne to a commoner? When I am alive," Precious responded to the king. King David replied to her, "How dare you say that about your sister Precious? Haven't you heard that she now has a male friend she has been talking to for some time now in the forest? Instead of you to be praying for their friendship to blossom into marriage, you are here plotting against her behind her back. Precious, Precious, Precious. How many times did I call you? If you know what is good for you, you would get out of my sight immediately before I increase your punishment tenfold." Precious then quickly responded, "But father, you can't be this naive. You are banking your whole kingdom, our lineage, on some slim chance that Amaka, the girl who no man has ever courted since she was born, to marry a peasant hunter that you have never met before." King David responded, "Then it's settled. I would meet with Amaka's friend soonest. But as for you, your punishment remains the same. Now leave my presence immediately. Leave." Amaka, who was just coming back from her meeting with Dyke, overheard the shouting coming from the king's quarters and rushed in. "Is there any problem, father?" Amaka asked as Precious hurriedly left their presence. "No, my dear. Your sister just misbehaved, so I corrected her." The king responded unsuspiciously because he did not want to spoil Amaka's mood with the details of what Precious really did. "Okay, father." Amaka responded as she was about to leave. "Wait, Amaka, there was something I've been meaning to ask you," King David said. "What is it, father?" Amaka replied. "That your friend, Dyke is his name, right? I would like to see him in the palace. At least let me get to know the man that has been making my daughter so happy and full of life," King David said. Amaka then chuckled. "Haha, Daddy, no problem. If that is the case, I will bring him over tomorrow. I'm sure you would like him very much. He is a very charismatic person," Amaka said. Then it is settled, my daughter. Tomorrow bring over your friend so I will get to know him too," King David replied. "Okay, no problem, Daddy," said as she left his quarters back to her room. The following day, Amaka went to meet Dyke at their normal spot in the forest. When she arrived, she saw Dyke with his bicycle. She hugged him and asked, "Dyke, I did not know you owned a bicycle. There are many things you don't know about me, Amaka. But I know things about you think I don't know, like how you don't know how to ride a bike." Dyke said, Wait, Dyke, how did you know that I've never ridden a bike before?" Amaka asked. "Oh please, you are the crowned princess. I'm sure you've been carried about in royal chariots your whole life. So I figured since that is the case and you've never ridden a bicycle like a peasant, maybe I could teach you how to ride one today. Come on, it would be fun," Dyke said. "Okay, I'm in," Amaka replied. So majority of the day Dyke spent teaching Amaka how to ride and maneuver a bicycle. A point came when, as Amaka was practicing to ride as Dyke held the bike, they both fell on the floor because the bike was unstable. As they fell upon each other and locked eyes and stared into each other's pupils with a burning passion. Dyke then began confessing his feelings to Amaka. "Amaka, these past few months we've spent together have been the best months of my life. You are an incredible person, and I've completely fallen in love with you. Amaka, would you marry me?" Dyke asked Amaka earnestly as he knelt on his 2 feet with a wooden crafted ring. Immediately Amaka began blushing uncontrollably and tears of immense joy began flowing down from her eyes. She responded to Dyke's proposal with a resounding yes. "Yes, I'll marry you, Dyke." As she accepted the ring on her finger, they both shared a passionate kiss. Now, after they kissed, Amaka noticed that something felt familiar about the wooden ring. Dyke then told her that he carved the ring out of the very tree that he was stuck in that she saved him from. Now Amaka, overwhelmed with joy about all that happened, informed Dyke that, in fact, her father had planned to see him earlier to get to know her close friend, but now that she is his fiancée, it is even more paramount that he meets her father, the king. Dyke accepted, but first informed her of a surprise he had for her accepting to marry him. "What is it, my love?" Amaka asked. "Well, Amaka, you know my grandfather was a very powerful chief priest, and since we've known each other, you've always detested yourself for being a giant. Well, a couple of weeks back I began asking some of my grandfather's associates if there was any spiritual cure to your condition, and just last week I got word from a friend that there is a cure. There is a shrine deep within the Agba evil forest. On the other side of the Agoni River, this shrine, its land is filled with a surplus of spiritual energy. if you were to break the secret egg there at exactly 12 midnight. On the night of a full moon, any wish you make concerning yourself would come to pass. So in theory, if you were to stand in that shrine, break the spiritual egg and make a wish that you stop being so muscular and being a giant, that wish will most certainly come true. Dyke narrated to Amaka. Amaka immediately hugged him in utter excitement. "Oh my God, Dyke, this is amazing news. This would please my father very much to hear along with our engagement." Amaka said to Dyke, "Yes, my love. So what are we waiting for? Let's go see your father." Dyke responded to Amaka, so they left the forest with the guard that followed them. But this time they didn't follow the secret bush path. Instead, they walked majestically through the village's public road as they held hands in love. The villagers who saw them were in awe of how such a handsome man, average in height, would be holding hands with such a beastly-looking princess. People's faces turned to each other as they gossiped desperately and loudly about the couple walking on the road. Some were genuinely surprised by what they were seeing, while others, especially the kids, just wanted to make fun of them. With some shouting, "Look! Look! Look! At our Gant princess and that man! Is this Beauty and the Beast? But this time around the man is the beautiful 1-inch haha." As they laughed at them. At first, Amaka felt a little downcast from the villagers' reactions, but as she looked into Dyke's eyes, she was overshadowed by a great calm, knowing fully well that the one person's opinion truly mattered to her, and that person was the love of her life. And his opinion of her was that she was beautiful and kind. They both kept walking majestically till they reached the palace. When they arrived, Precious could see them coming from the palace gates, so she hid herself in the palace corridors waiting to see if they would go to the king's chambers. Amaka and Dyke would both enter the king's chambers in the palace, with the escort of some guards, as Precious hid behind the door to eavesdrop on their meeting. When they were in the presence of the king, they both knelt down to His Majesty, King David, and greeted him earnestly. King David would tell them to rise and sit down on one of the chairs. Then King David began speaking. "Amaka, my daughter, well done. You have finally brought to my presence the man friend that has been making you happy all this while." Amaka replied, "Yes, oh, Daddy, at long last you and him finally meet. Daddy, this is Dyke the hunter, the most kind and noble man in our village. But Daddy, he is no longer my friend, oh." King David then asked, "Amaka, what do you mean? You told me that he was your closest friend." Amaka then replied to her father, "Oh, Daddy, don't worry, I think it's better we hear him explain better." "Very well, young man, speak and throw more light on this," King David urged Dyke. Dyke then began speaking. "Great! King David, ruler of our land, may your days be long. Yes, indeed, me and your daughter Amaka were once friends, but today we stopped being friends entirely. Today we became something more. My liege, it is my honor to humbly announce that I asked for your daughter, Amaka, the love of my life's hand, in marriage earlier today, and she accepted my proposal." As soon as he said this, the king busted out in overwhelming tears. He couldn't hold it back even as he tried desperately. The tears were tears of joy for his daughter, Amaka. Dyke tried to comfort him, startled at why he was crying, whether he said anything unpleasant. But then the king started speaking, while still in tears. "It is okay, my son. You have done nothing wrong. This news of you two's engagement just filled my heart with immense joy. Don't worry, you have my full support for both of your unions. Me and my entire cabinet will see to it that you both have a befitting royal wedding." Amaka then responded to her father, "Thank you, Daddy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." But Dyke chipped in with more good news for the king. "My liege, this is not the only good news I bring. As you know, your daughter was stricken with a disease that made her grow into a giant and become muscular. Well, just recently I found a cure for this ailment, but it resides deep within the Agba evil forest. If I were to take the princess there and she performs the required sacrifice at a special shrine in the forest, she would be cured of her affliction permanently. The king then responded to Dyke, "This cure you speak of, are you sure of its efficacy? A journey into the Agba evil forest is no joke. Many warriors have journeyed into that forest in search of power and have never returned. If I were to permit you two to go, would you be able to protect my daughter?" Dyke replied the king immediately, "Yes, my liege. The cure is potent. I got the information from a reliable source, and yes, I swear to protect your daughter with my life. For I am the grandson of Dimpa, the greatest chief priest our land has ever known. We would both make it back alive, and Amaka would get her long-deserved miracle." Then the king replied in optimism, "Very well then, brave Hunter Dyke, you have my blessing for this mission. I would provide you both with 10 of my strongest palace guards to ensure both of your safeties. I am guessing you both would want to embark on this mission before your marriage." Amaka and Dyke looked at each other, then looked at the king and responded in unison, "Yes, King David." Then Amaka, Dyke, and the king continued sharing pleasantries. As Precious, who had been listening in on the whole conversation, was struck with a great sadness. Her throat began to itch, her eyes began turning red, and she was nearly driven to tears. "Amaka, my sister, has found a suitor, and worst of all, they have found a cure to her condition. All my plans and dreams of becoming the next ruler of our kingdom are ruined." So she thought, "But no, Precious, get a grip, you can still do something to secure your future. But you have to act fast," she said to herself. While she was still talking, Amaka and Dyke walked out of the king's quarters and passed where she was standing in the corridor. Dyke, being a gentleman, greeted her, but she ignored him and sighed, walking out of their presence like they were long-time enemies. This was the first sign that Precious had declared war on their union. But Amaka and Dyke were oblivious to this. The next morning, Precious sneaked out of the palace to visit her friend Elizabeth, whose auntie was one of the dreaded witches of the neighboring kingdom. Precious asked Elizabeth to take her to her auntie, as she was ready to pay any sacrifice to ensure that Amaka and Dyke's union failed. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story and wish to see a part 2, comment part 2 in the comments and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you'll be the first to be notified when the next episode drops. Have a lovely day.